that new whip. Hey, Jose the dude trip.
And we're live.
Welcome to Bet Records, where we talk about hot topics, ideas, and all the shit you really want to hear.
What's going on, Bet Records fans? This is Justin. We're on our different slot time. This is Saturday the 10th, I believe.
The 11th.
The 11th. It's not our usual start time, but today is a very special episode. I was like, okay, I gotta hop on. The crew is not here, but I am joined by a special guest. For those of you who've been following along with the channel, as you guys know, I did an internship last summer in Dickinson, North Dakota with the Badlands Big Sticks. Well, in studio today, we have in Sartell, Minnesota, my man, Max Stapleton.
Yes, sir.
What's going
yes,
on,
sir.
brother? Welcome to St. Cloud.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, you guys got an awesome place here. This is an incredible setup, like a little home studio type beat. It's really nice. I'm happy to be here.
So, yeah, I know. So what have you been up to ever since you hightailed it out in North Dakota?
Good amount. Been going to school at University of Wisconsin, studying journalism, trying to become a sports broadcaster there. Got a couple shows on student radio, and right now I'm with the Duluth Huskies of the Northwoods League broadcasting for them, and that's why I'm in town. They're facing the St. Cloud Rocks later today, and yeah, just excited to get a little podcast going.
So how did you find the internship with the Huskies?
With the Huskies? It's nice. It's really nice. I mean, it's a different job than what I had last year. So, like last year, I was an on-field host and was mostly just playing games with kids on the field and doing a lot of manual labor pre and post game.
But how did you find the internship?
Oh, how to actually find it? I just applied to a bunch. I knew of the Northwoods League and wanted to become a broadcaster. Baseball's always been like my favorite sport, more or less, and I pretty much applied to every team in the Northwoods League, and two got back to me, and this seemed like the greatest program, so I picked this one.
What was the other one?
The other one was in Wilmer, the Wilmer Stingers.
The Stingers.
Yeah.
That's about an hour from here.
Yeah.
It's down. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's southwestern. I would say it's kind of central southwestern, meets right in the middle. It's a smaller city. It's smaller than St. Cloud. It's kind of like a Dickinson size, just a little bit smaller.
Yeah, that's the vibe. We actually just played the Stingers like last week, and the Huskies won, so I'm happy to be part of a winning organization too, which is nice.
Hey, that's good.
But yeah.
But how is the team overall? Like, there are a bunch of studs on the team.
Yeah, there's a good amount. The team's really good so far. We're 8-3 right now. The Rocks are now 9-1. We just handed them their first loss last night, so feels like it's going to be these two teams competing all year long. They're not in the same division, but they're in the same conference. The team itself is awesome. We got a guy named Christian Campbell who's just a beast out of Georgia Tech. He's a shortstop, like 6'3", 200 pounds, uber athletic. We have this guy, Eddie Rosario, who shows up to camp in like kind of an Odell Beckham haircut, big body dude, catcher, just steps up to the plate, immediately hits two doubles, throws two guys out from behind the catcher's position. Guy's an absolute animal. The team itself is awesome. Our starting pitching is the highlight of it. We pitched a one-hitter yesterday against the number one batting team in the entire Northwoods League, so it's been really fun to watch.
How long did it take to get that first hit?
It took till the 7th.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 outs in the 7th, too.
The pitcher was probably bummed after that
Well,
one.
the Northwoods League has a rule where you're not allowed to pitch more than 100 innings. Or 100 pitches, in an outing. So he was at 95, and they had to pull him.
Even if you have a no-hitter.
Even if you have a no-hitter or a perfect game going. Because the Northwoods League, it's a developmental league. A lot of these guys are going back to college, and their college coaches don't really want them playing.
True.
Throwing them more than 100.
But, like, when it comes to, like, pitching a no-hitter or a perfect game, like, that just...
It's a special moment.
That's just, like, a confidence builder right there that I can go past that limit and I can still do it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm sure his name is Harrison Kryling. He's awesome. That was his second start of the season last night. And, yeah, he went to the 7th with a no-hitter going, and our other best starter, Isaac Seakosh, came in to try to keep the no-hitter. So I like the idea of the coach, Marcus Pointer there, who was like, I'm just going to put in our other best guy and throw him in and try to keep it. And he gave up, like, literally a bloop single in the center field. Like, he jammed him. It was just an unlucky hit, but otherwise the entire night was pretty much, a perfect game. He only allowed 2 base runners through 7 innings, so it was ridiculous. It was fun to watch.
One thing you were telling me that right after I picked you up from the game, you told me that St. Cloud Rocks is probably the best stadium you've been to so far.
Oh, my God. Joe Faber Field, man. Gorgeous. Like, actually just gorgeous. I mean, I don't want to crap all over the Huskies on live radio or whatever, but the stadium just isn't where it's at. It's not the best thing in the world.
It's not up to date.
It's not up to date. It was built in the 40s. It was built out of bricks that were used in roads.
I mean, you have to understand, it's not that you're shitting on the organization. I mean,
Yeah.
the Oakland Athletics could be the best team in the MLB right now, and people will still criticize
Right.
them for having a bad ballpark. It's
And
not
that's
ripping on
the
team.
comparison.
And they know it, too.
Yeah, and that's the comparison. You know, it's the Oco Coliseum of the Northwoods League, and so it is what it is. It's. But I will say the Husky fans, those ones who do go, they get super loud. They sell these like big horns. I don't know what to call them. Like these like almost like trombone looking horns.
Kind of like what they use at the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, exactly what they use. And so in our last game at home, it was against the Waterloo Bucks, and there were 6 batters hit in the entire game. And so the fans, like every time the opposing pitcher started throwing this pitch, would just start blaring this horn. And it was just ridiculous. It was so funny. We actually like almost got into a fight. Warnings were issued on both sides, and there's this one just super drunk lady, like right in the front row of the stadium, just going, fuck you, fuck you. It was just like, oh my God, it was ridiculous.
Gotta love them Duluth fans.
Hey, they get rowdy.
Yeah, I had a really bad experience with University of Minnesota Duluth hockey fan at the Frozen Four.
Oh, yeah?
4 years ago. I was sitting in the lower level at XL Energy because it was in St. Paul. And I was sitting there with my St. Cloud State jacket, minding my own business, and obviously I hate the Bulldogs, so I'm gonna root against them. They were playing Ohio State.
Is that like an in-state rival, like the St. Cloud and
Yes.
UMD? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
Oh yeah, because we're in the same conference. The Gophers are in the Big Ten, so we play them, but it's not like we play them like one series a year. So it's usually every couple years we play them, but we played them last season. We're going to play them this season. Anyway, so Ohio State scored a goal, and of course I got up, I was clapping, and I high-fived a couple Ohio State fans. I didn't think I was being obnoxious or anything.
Knowing you, how could you ever be obnoxious, Justin?
Yeah, true. And then, like, all of a sudden, everyone starts screaming at me, like the Duluth fans. I'm like, I wasn't even taunting you guys. Like, I'm looking forward. You're behind me. I'm looking back. Everyone's giving me middle fingers. I'm like,
dude, they care about their hockey. Like, they really care about their hockey. It's kind of crazy. UMD's really bad at every other sport.
And I was like, I wasn't trying to offend you. If I did in any way, I apologize, but that wasn't my intention. So I sat back down, and then all of a sudden, empty cup gets thrown at me. And I turn around, like, what the? At first, I was like,
Yeah.
really? I'm just gonna let it slide. It was empty, and he missed. So, yeah.
Yeah, that speaks to the athleticism of UMD sports for the most part, missing an empty beer throw.
Yeah, and then 5 minutes later, a second one came. I'm like looking around. I'm like, who's doing this? Like, seriously,
Yeah, for real.
fuck off. And I'm just like, okay, if this happens one more time, there's gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
Then they throw half a water bottle at me, and it hits me right in the back. I stand up. I'm like, who's throwing that? Seriously, everyone just screams, fuck you, like 12 different people. I'm like, who's throwing that shit? And then just one guy screams, I did it. But I'm like looking at a bunch of people, so I didn't see like who exactly it was.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, knock it off, whoever it is. And then the guy's just like, I'm throwing it at you because you're a dumb St. Cloud fan, and I don't like you. Like, you've known me for how long? 5 seconds. And then he just kept yelling at me this and that. Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I'm like, you know, you'll say that when you're 6 rows above me. Why don't you come to the row right behind me and say that? Let's do it.
Yeah, say that to my face.
Yeah, and then finally security comes down, and then the security guard sits next to me, and he's just like, all right, we have personnel on the way to get him out.
Nice.
And then they get him. Everyone was cheering me, and then after the game, like all the Duluth fans are just like, hey, I didn't mean nothing by it. I'm like, you were flipping me off, screaming in my face. Go fuck yourself. And then one saw me at the Mall of America the next day. It was like, hey, you okay, man? I'm like, oh, you're the guy that was giving me the middle finger. Like, yeah, I apologize for that. I had a little too many. I'm like, I was like, what's your beef, stranger?
Yeah, it is what it is, though. I mean, drunk fans are always kind of a staple of sports, especially up here in Wisconsin, Minnesota. Like, they get rowdy at these games, man.
But if you go to a Vikings game, the one thing I noticed when I took my dad to a Vikings game against the Packers, and you know me, I've had season tickets for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Growing up now and going to a Patriots game, I asked my dad, why did you even think about bringing me here as a little kid? F-bomb every 10 seconds. The fans are always standing in Minnesota. Everyone's sitting down. Yeah, you have that one fan on the other team who's like taunting, but he isn't saying anything. It's kind of like harmless banter, but at the end of the day, we're all just like, good game, this
Yeah.
and that. I was just like, these are Minnesota fans. Why are they being so mean?
Dude, I have a story about that in New York at MetLife Stadium. This is when the Giants were good. This was like that 2015 season where they went 13-3 or whatever. And I grew up in New York, and I'm a diehard New York sports fan. And so I went to a Giants-Cowboys game like late in the season, a low-scoring game. I think the final score was like 10-7 or something like that. And the Giants were winning, and the Giants went up 10-0, I believe. And there was a Cowboys fan sitting like 3 rows in front of me. Keep in mind, this was 2015. I'm 21 now, so I was 14 at that time. And I'm with my mom, I'm with my 2 friends, and I'm just laying into this dude. Like, for no reason other than I was an obnoxious New York little kid. And I was just like,
You're not gonna take that.
Your team fucking sucks. Like, you guys are such bums, the worst fan base in sports. What are you doing here? Like, get out of New York. And
Oh, you said that to
I was
him?
saying that to him. I was completely instigating a fight. As like a 14-year-old, I was like 5', -3. Like, it was just not a good idea. And this guy starts walking up to like me and my 3 friends, and we're all just like, never mind.
The
Like,
guy's just like, I've taken shits bigger than you.
yeah, exactly. The dude must have been in his like early 30s. He was in like decent shape, and he was like, I don't want to punch a little kid, but I will. And I was like, ooh. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
enough.
I mean, I've been to a couple New York games. I'm wearing Boston stuff. I've never had a problem. But when you do bring like the NFC East rivalry, I've seen more fan fights between NFC East fan bases than any other rivalry. Like when Giants go to Philadelphia,
Yeah.
they are not welcomed there.
Dude, the Philly Cowboys rivalry is ridiculous up there. I mean, like the Commanders now. I gotta get used to saying that. But the Commanders are kind of irrelevant. They've always been irrelevant, at least since I've been born. But no, like that Giants-Philly, Giants-Cowboys, Philly-Cowboys trio in the NFC East is bad. It's a big rivalry. And we were talking about this, last night a little bit while watching the Warriors and Celtics, when Draymond Green and his wife or something like that was like going off about Celtics fans, chirping him. And like, I don't think people understand that in the Northeast, like when you complain about fans being toxic, they're just going to be more toxic going forward.
Yeah, just stop
It is
talking.
their
It's gonna
entire
get worse.
personality. It's going to get completely worse, and it seemed worse in Boston last
Yeah,
night.
if you say something about the fans, they'll remember.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
gonna give you an even harder
I
time.
mean, especially in Boston, man. Like, what was Draymond Green thinking? Just like, it's only going to get worse. If they see that it's bothering you, why wouldn't they keep on going for it?
Yeah, but the thing about that is, I genuinely don't think anybody likes Draymond Green except here in Golden State. Everyone knows.
You'd be surprised about the Golden State. There's one kid who works with the Huskies who is like the biggest. He sucks Draymond Green's dick all the time.
Jesus.
He loves him.
But he's like, how many points did he score last night?
Oh
5.
man, I don't even know. Yeah,
Like-
he had a bad game.
Like, I wouldn't even consider him like a stud. I just consider him a troll.
He's a defensive, he's a defensive guy, and I get it. I mean, he did a really good job against Jokic in that first
Yeah.
series, and he really locked him up. But I'm looking up the Celtics Warrior stats right now to see how many points Draymond Green scored. But yeah, he got pulled early, right? And everyone was talking about it. Like, doesn't that show championship caliber? He had 2 points last night. He had 2 points, 8 assists, 9 rebounds in 33 minutes, and he got pulled because he was trash.
Yikes.
So
I got to ask you about the new Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
I think, like, when they changed the name, like, I was expecting, like, a really nice logo, and they just sticked with the Washington football team logo. Are you surprised by that?
Is it actually like the exact same?
It's the exact same, but they modified it. I was like, if they were going to do something like that, I was expecting, like, a really badass logo.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's pretty much the
And
same.
the second that they said that they were dropping the Redskins name, first thing I said is, you better not drop the color scheme, because that's
Hey, and
that's
they
my
didn't.
favorite color scheme.
You like the red and yellow?
And
Like
the
that dark
maroon?
red? Yeah.
I like that.
Keep in mind, I'm red green colorblind, so some of these colors might
Oh,
be
you
off
are?
a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
No,
right.
but I can see that one. And yeah, I like it. I like the new uniforms for the Commanders. I really do. I think I know they got a lot of flack when they first came out, but I think the all blacks look good. The all whites look good. I just think like the all maroons are kind of, and you got to stick to the color scheme. It's a traditionalist place. Like the Redskins were such a storied franchise, despite them being absolutely garbage for the last 20 years. But
Hey, but in the 90s, they were a really good team.
yeah, no, and they had their moments, man. Taylor dying was, obviously a big turn in the fork in the road for the franchise. But I mean, I don't know. The Commanders, I think, are going to be good. I think they're winning that division this year. That's a super hot take.
What was it? Taylor Heineke. He went to Old Dominion, right?
Yeah.
So my sister went to Old Dominion, and she told me that Taylor Heineke tried to slide in her DMs multiple times.
Yeah, can you really be that surprised?
No.
Hey, if you're the starting quarterback at a school, man, you usually got some confidence.
And so my neighbor, so I was born in Georgia, and then when I was 2 to 6, I lived in a suburb outside of D.C., and my neighbors, I still have them on social media. The daughter is engaged to Joey Sly,
Okay.
the kicker for the Commanders. I'm like, that's pretty badass.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really. I saw this thing on TikTok not too long ago where, oh my God, who was it? Oh, it was Sabonis on the Pacers, and like there was just this random guy who was like, yeah, when my sister's like engaged to an NBA player, and like this guy just like, gets to walk around with Domantas Sabonis hanging around in his house all the time, and his sister was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Who was it? Jeanette McCurdy, who played Sam in iCarly. Who
Yeah.
was she dating? Tracy McGrady or something?
I don't even know. I thought I might have thought Jeanette McCurdy was gay, bi. Not sure.
mean, I don't know if I'd go that far. She's beautiful though.
Yeah, no, she's awesome, but yeah, I haven't even heard anything about her in a long time.
But I just knew she was dating this NBA player, and there's like pictures of them standing next to each other. I'm like, holy shit, he dwarfs her.
yeah, I believe that for sure. No, let's get into some UFC talk, man. We got a big card tonight so far. I will admit I haven't been keeping up with the UFC that much of late just because I've been busy with the Huskies and busy trying to get my summer in order. But looking at this card tonight, it seems like it's going to be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, one thing I've really noticed is the prelims are kind of starting to die down, which I understand. Because it is very easy to say these prelims suck. There's nobody I know on it, and my instant reaction to that is, yeah, you'll know them in 2 years when they're superstars. You have to start from somewhere.
Right, and if you're like an actual UFC fan, you'll watch the prelims and try to get an idea for who these guys are. But yeah, the prelims are almost like a showcase for them. It's not really like it's a test, that's for sure, but it's not like you're there to really promote your brand that much yet. It's like you want to get in the eyes of Dana White so he can further promote your brand
and build up the highlight reel for future promos.
Right,
too.
exactly.
I'm really looking forward to Wei Li versus Joanna.
Oh my God! I mean, that first fight is still my favorite fight. It's either that or the first Covington-Usman fight are my two favorite fights of all time.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't make that a 5-round fight.
Well, they can't, right?
No, they can.
I mean, it's not a main event, right? Because the two mains are the Prochazka fight and the
Valentina
Shevchenko fight, right?
Well, they've done that before. They started doing it last year for the Adesanya Vittori card when we were in Bismarck.
Wasn't Vittori supposed to be on this card? I thought he was.
Yeah, he was.
What happened with that?
Whittaker got hurt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, that sucks. That would have been a really cool fight.
I know. They're going to meet up in August, I think. That's what they said. But no, so Vittori versus Adesanya last year, the first time ever they did. There was a co-main event. It was Figueiredo and Moreno, and the fight before that was Edwards versus Nate Diaz, and they made that a 5-round fight.
Yeah.
And then...
Right, I remember that. And Leon Edwards kicked the shit out of him for 4.5 rounds, and then Diaz just got one punch in at the end. And everyone was like, Diaz is back! And I was like, come on, guys. Like, Leon Edwards is such a good fighter.
Yeah,
He had one good punch.
Yeah, I was watching a video. It was basically saying Leon Edwards is the unluckiest fighter in UFC
I think
history.
he's like the most unsung UFC fighter ever. Like, he has had championship aspirations really for like 2 years now. You could have given him a title fight and he still hasn't gotten it.
Really, I didn't know who Leon Edwards was until Masvidal punched him in the face backstage.
Dude, Masvidal, man, dude.
And even he went on Joe Rogan's podcast, Masvidal, and they were talking about that, and Rogan said he was just like, I think that incident kind of helped him a little bit. And Masvidal was like, yeah, unfortunately, I hate making that fucking dude famous.
Yeah, I mean, that's Masvidal's MO, though, right? Like, he can't really control his temper, and, he's a good fighter, but he's not a great fighter.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, that's Masvidal's thing. If he's going to punch people backstage or go, jump Colby Covington on the street, you're going to give other people press. If that's really what you're not trying to do, then don't do it.
Yeah, there's a ton of people who were... It's kind of 50-50 on people who said, oh, Masvidal had the right to do that. Other people saying that was a bitch move by him. So the people who said, yeah, he should have done it was because the whole family talk, this and that. And then the people who said that was a bitch move because they said, Dana White gave you a gift. Here's 5 rounds with him, 25 minutes. Do whatever you want to him, and you failed. And
given Colby Covington is by far the second best fighter in that division. It's Usman, Covington, and then everybody else. And so I don't think anyone's beating Covington in that division right now, other than Kamaru.
Yeah, and Justin Gaethje even said when he was on the Nelk podcast, he said, I hate Colby Covington, but I'm on his side in the Masvidal thing because where I come from, punching someone from behind is a bitch move.
It's such a bitch move. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, you had 25 minutes in a place where you're allowed to punch people and you're allowed to, like, beat the shit out of someone, and you couldn't. Too bad, so sad.
And basically, one of my friends, he's been in a lot of street fights, and he basically told me that whole thing, there's no rules in a street fight. There's one rule in a street fight. Don't jump somebody from behind.
Yeah, don't be a bitch. Don't stab someone in the back.
Exactly.
If you're going to fight somebody, fight him man to man. That reminds me, you showed me that video last night of the Dylan Dennis and the bouncer
Bisping.
stuff. Yeah, and the Bisping, and oh my god.
I kind of want to talk about that. It's kind of old news.
It is a little bit of old news.
But it's just hilarious because Dylan Dennis is a dickhead. What does Bisping call him? He calls him Dildo Dennis.
Yeah, Dildo Dennis.
So a little background on this guy. The only reason this guy is famous is because he's quote-unquote Conor McGregor's protege. He's fought 2 MMA fights in Bellator against... I can't even tell you the names of the guys.
No, he couldn't tell you the names against the guys, too.
Yeah,
Dylan Dennis has no idea who he fights.
And his last fight was exactly 3 years ago this month. And since then, he's been like just a troll on Twitter, talking shit, this and that, but not actually getting in the cage to fight. Granted, he did have a knee injury, but he still doesn't fight. So basically, last September, he's at a friend's wedding in New Jersey, goes to the bar. Bouncer says to him, do you have ID? He says, oh, I don't, but I'm Dylan Dennis. And he's like,
that means nothing to me.
I have no idea. And he's like, you don't know who I am? No, get out of here. And then he Googles himself and shows it to the bouncer.
What a bitch.
And the bouncer's just like, cool, it's not an ID. Can't let you in. Then it got really worked up. Dylan punched the bouncer in the face, and the bouncer went on to say it was a bitch punch. It was terrible.
Yeah, and the bouncer got him in like a rear naked or something like that, right? And Dennis couldn't escape it.
Yeah. And
that's the best jiu-jitsu mind of this generation, quote unquote.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You said bouncer. He's not actually a bouncer. He's a chocolatier.
He just does it for extra money.
Yeah.
On the weekends.
Yeah, Bisping said it best on his podcast. I'm not the type of person to kick a man while he's down. Someone gets arrested, I'm not gonna. But Dylan Dennis deserves it.
Oh yeah, Dylan Dennis seems like he's. And look, obviously we don't know this guy personally, and he likes to be the hated guy. I mean, like that's what we think about him, right? Is he does all this stuff for press, and because he can't actually fight in the UFC, he would never win a fight in that league. No. He's just like going to be a hater and a troll. I know he's going after Jake Paul for a long. I think Jake Paul would kick the shit out of him.
Oh, Jake Paul would easily kick his ass,
dude. That's one of the more. I haven't really seen you since the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight that was last summer, I believe. Right?
Yeah, we were watching.
We were watching that together, and that was the last time we really talked about the Pauls too. But yeah. Jake Paul's kind of
the Paul sisters.
Kind of legit. I don't know, man. I'm starting to believe in Jake Paul a little bit after seeing him what he did against Tyron Woodley twice. And Woodley, I get that he's aging and he's a wrestler at heart, but also that guy has knocked out people cold. Like
Josh Koscheck, Robbie Lawler.
You gotta give Jake Paul credit where he deserves it, man. The fights he's had, he's won, and I think he could take tougher fights. I mean, I would love to see him go up against a guy like Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia is like 40 pounds lighter than him.
I know, but it'll never happen. But you look at like Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, and these guys who like are top-ranked boxers, but just aren't getting the press that. And Garcia might be an exception.
Ryan Garcia is getting it,
right? But like Tank Davis, for example, right? Like Gervonta Davis, like does like if I bet you half the people listening to this don't know who he is,
yeah.
and he's arguably the best boxer in the world right now. And it's just like it's him or Canelo or who's the guy who just beat Canelo? Nobody knows about.
I forgot his name off the top of my head.
Exactly, though,
but
right?
Basically, what I don't like is that he's just like shitting on Canelo after that loss. It's like,
yeah,
give him some fucking respect. Do you know what Canelo has done in his career? And
you're God,
disrespecting the
Canelo
fucking guy.
Is a top 3 boxer in the last 30 years, in my opinion.
Him,
Floyd.
Mayweather, Tyson Fury.
Yeah. I would say it's those 3 right there. Like those are the 3 holy grail of boxers right now. By the way, it's Dmitry Bivol. I just looked it up.
Okay, I knew it was like a Russian guy.
Yeah, and he's like undefeated too. He might be the next one of those 3. So I've heard.
There was before the Dmitry fight, there was another Canelo fought Caleb Plant.
Yeah,
and that was a fight where everyone's like, okay, I think this guy can get Canelo, and Canelo knocked him out.
Yeah, and apparently Caleb Plant actually put up a pretty good competition. I didn't actually watch that fight, but I saw the highlights and tweets about it. And people were saying Caleb Plant was like pretty good in that fight, but Canelo just was a step above him. I think Canelo's next fight is going to be against
a Triple G.
Yeah, Triple G. That's so much easier to say than Golovkin.
That's a sell right there.
I mean, that's going to be a sellout crowd, right? That'll be the biggest fight of the year, most likely, unless Jake Paul fights.
But basically, Dana White's been saying, yeah, you don't hear Jake Paul calling out Anderson Silva. He's like, he's old, which is what Jake Paul likes, guys in their 40s.
True.
But Anderson's actually good.
Does Jake Paul have a fight coming up soon?
He just announced he's going to Madison Square Garden in early August, but he hasn't announced the opponent.
Huh.
Part of me thinks it's going to be Tyson Fury or Tommy Fury, but I don't think Tommy Fury's that good.
Yeah, but Tommy Fury's at least of age and the same weight class.
And it's a name too.
And he's pretty good. Like, he's had a pretty good career so far. Does Tommy Fury even have a loss yet?
No, he doesn't.
Right.
I think he's 10-0.
Yeah, he's 10-0. I mean, he's an up and coming guy. Jake Paul's in a similar situation, man. At a certain point, you got to start giving him his respect. But
I just remember the first Tyron Woodley fight with Jake Paul. We were watching in the basement down there. I erupted when Tyron put him against the ropes and he fell through, and I was like, "Why aren't you going after him?"
Oh my God, Tyron Woodley in that first fight against Jake Paul just looked like he didn't want to be there. I mean, not as bad as Ben Askren. That was ridiculous.
Ben even said, "Yeah, they were just paying me, so I didn't care."
Yeah, no, exactly. Ben's taken tougher defeats in his life.
Yeah. I remember there was, when he was on Logan Paul's podcast, he kind of got serious for a second. He's just like, "Listen," and they did an edit with sad music. Like, "Listen, for those people struggling out there with depression, I understand. Life isn't going to get easy, but listen to me." Then the sad music cuts off. It does the track thing where it goes
yeah.
And it says, "I suffered the most embarrassing loss in combat sports history."
Yep.
You can't get any lower than what I had to do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There might not be anything as demoralizing as getting knocked out in either UFC or boxing. I think that's the worst type of loss you can have in any sport. Yeah. I mean, not just physically, but just for your mental health and being like, wow, I really just got alphaed by someone else.
Mm-hmm. But then there's people that get knocked out, rematch the guy, and then win.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I'm not saying it's a permanent thing. I mean, for Ben Askren it is, but for most people who get knocked out, it's usually not a permanent thing. It's usually about the guy who knocked him out, less about the guy who got knocked out, which is why I feel so bad a little bit for Ben Askren in that fight. Masvidal did his homework, knew that Ben Askren would shoot in the first minute of the fight.
Do you really have to do homework for that?
No, but just but it was a smart strategy, right? And after the fight, there was all that talk about how he was practicing that flying knee for an hour or two before the fight. Knew he was going to come out and just run it right away, and it landed. On Ben Askren's part, it's unlucky. But on Masvidal's part, it's a great fight. But I feel like people know that more for Ben Askren losing than they do for Masvidal winning.
I just loved Ben Askren. He basically said right after that fight, he went on Ariel Helwani's show the next week, and people were like, "No way." And he's just taking it like a man. He was just like, "I don't really remember the knee." And I was still dazy in the hospital, but then all of a sudden, it hit me. Ah, damn it. I just lost to George Masvidal. This frickin' sucks.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. All right, back to the card today. So the main fight tonight is going to be Prochazka versus Teixeira. And Teixeira, I thought against Blachowicz, I thought Blachowicz would have had that fight in 1 or 2 rounds, but not at all the case in that one.
See, I knew Glover was going to win that fight. People are saying Polish power this, Polish power that. Glover has a fucking granite chin.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the fight between him and Thiago Santos, which got him the title shot? He was basically out, and he came back to win.
Yeah. No, I remember that fight. And Glover's been, he's been doing this for what, 15 years, 20 years, something like that. He's 42.
Oldest first-time champion ever.
He's 42. He's facing a 29-year-old in Yuri Prochazka. At what point does Father Time catch up to Glover Teixeira? I thought it already did. But that that Blachowicz fight really changed my mind a lot.
If he can hold the belt for another 2 years, he'll break the record for oldest
UFC
God. Champion ever.
Hopefully he'll be alive for 2 more years. The amount of times that guy's gotten hit at 42 now. I mean, Jesus.
I was gonna say that Randy Couture record's really hard to come by.
Yeah,
that would be that would basically be 2 years ago Anderson Silva coming back to beat Adesanya to win the belt.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that wouldn't happen. Just because Adesanya is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was so... I know I'm going on a lot of tangents and stuff, but I just like to talk about fighting in this way. But, Adesanya versus Whitaker, I was so sad during that fight. I'm a huge Rob Whitaker fan. And, that was the most depressing fight. I was like, Rob Whitaker, he's going to come back. He's seen him one time before. He looks great. And Adesanya just kind of wiped the floor with him. Whitaker had his moments, but it was like, it wasn't really a close fight.
He didn't wrestle with him enough.
No, not nearly enough. And that, that's what you saw with Blachowicz versus Adesanya. Like, Blachowicz really dominated on the ground. Whitaker really couldn't do much.
Yeah, I just remember Adesanya showed up to that Blachowicz fight, like 5 pounds under the 205 limit. And he was standing up in the scale with like a pizza.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to get more weight on me.
And I thought he was gonna win, but then hit the ground. Like, that's just unfair.
Oh yeah, it's completely unfair. I mean, it shows how much weight makes a difference in fighting, right? Like, I think that the only reason that Adesanya lost was because he was not even close to the same weight as Blachowicz. Yeah. And I think Adesanya has the most skill of any fighter maybe in the entire UFC. I mean, you put him up there with like Kamaru Usman and Volkanovski, Holloway, those guys. And Adesanya's right up there, man, and he's going to be a legend in the sport, but weight makes a huge difference. I think that's the reason Khabib was so dominant, especially in wrestling. I mean, Khabib was walking around at 200 pounds. Easily 200 pounds. He was losing 50 pounds to get down to 155. I mean...
basically killing himself.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Weight cutting in the UFC, man. I feel bad. I mean, they do it to themselves, so I don't feel that bad for him,
They sign the contract and say they're going to do this.
Oh, yeah. But you hear... I mean, even in recent interviews with Dustin Poirier... like the guy's just like, I don't like this anymore. I don't like doing it. I'm killing myself every time I'm going into a fight. It's not really that fun. Like, the only part that I enjoy is actually getting into the ring and doing it, but it's a 3.5 month buildup for these fights, and I'm just killing myself the entire time.
Yeah.
It's a nasty, nasty sport, man.
But anyway, the card tonight, co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Coming back for title defense number 7. I
mean... what more is there to say about her that hasn't been said already, right? Like, I don't even really know who Talia Santos is. Like,
she, who did she beat in her last fight? It wasn't Holly Holm. It was Miesha Tate, I think.
Well,
she dominated her, bloodied her. She looks like a killer, but if she looks like a killer, then Valentina looks like a
grizzly bear. Like, if she's a killer, then Valentina Shevchenko is Jeffrey Dahmer.
Godzilla.
Like, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at Talia Santos' last fights. In November, she beat Joanne Wood.
Oh, Joanne Calderwood.
Yeah, it just says Joanne Wood on
so
here.
So her maiden name is Calderwood, and her husband's last name is Wood.
Right.
So he just took out the Calder part, but once you've been watching her fight, it's just Calderwood stuck.
Yeah, no, and I don't know who Joanne Wood is, but I do know who Joanne Calderwood is, so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, beat her in the first round with a submission, and she's 19-1, so she's clearly got a great track record. I'm looking for her only loss. I can't find it, so we'll see. It does look like she's had a couple of canceled fights, but I mean, there's not a single. You were talking about this last night. There's not a single hole in Shevchenko's game.
No.
She can strike better than anyone else in that division. She can wrestle better than anyone else in that division. She's got great jiu-jitsu, great stamina. She's also the smartest person maybe in the UFC when you look at... she's trilingual, I'm pretty sure. And she's also a model. It's like, what can't she do? And she's the best at all of it.
I think it was DC basically saying he spent a day hanging out with Valentina, like doing some wacky, crazy shit. And he said everything she does in life is killer instinct. If she goes to the shooting range, she's locked in. She's hitting the targets.
Yeah.
Like, she's an alpha woman.
Oh, my God. She's ridiculous. And... I mean, I was saying the same thing about Amanda Nunes, and then all of a sudden she lost, right? So you never know. There's always a puncher's chance.
I knew the thing about Nunes is I always knew that there was a hole in Amanda Nunes' game, and that's cardio.
Yeah.
It showed against Jermaine Durand. I mean,
right.
She kind of just in the final 3 rounds, she was just like wrestle and hold.
Well, she couldn't really strike with GDR.
No.
That entire fight, I remember.
Yeah, that was the Usman Covington card.
Yeah.
And
what a card.
Yeah, and GDR hasn't fought in, 2 years. Her last was against Juliana Pena, and she won.
Yeah, no, GDR, we're still waiting for a comeback from her because she's a really talented striker. She reminds me of, what's-his-face, lightweight, I believe, really tall, lengthy dude. Kind of reminds you of Israel Adesanya, but can't wrestle for shit. Lost to Vettori because of his ground game.
Kevin Holland?
Yeah, Kevin Holland. Like, that's kind of the same type. Like, I think Kevin Holland's obviously more outspoken, but GDR's got a similar fighting style where it's like, you're not going to beat her on the feet. You're not. You got to get her down, and I like that mentality for most of it. But, Yeah, the other women's fight, I mean, and the best fight on this card, in my opinion, tonight is got to be the rematch between Joanna and Weili. It's just ridiculous.
I'm going with Weili.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, you look at that first fight, right, and I think, are you going with Weili because of the 2.5-year layoff, more or less, for Joanna?
A part of it, and also because with Weili, she's fought multiple times since that fight, and we've seen her get better.
Yeah.
When you don't fight for that long, we don't see, like, okay, what have you improved on?
Weili...
It's kind of like more in private what your coaches see.
Yeah. Yeah, and Weili doesn't use Trevor Whitman. But, no, it's Rose uses Trevor Whitman. And was her last fight against Rose?
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah. New York City.
Yeah, was that the head kick?
No, that was last April in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Rose Namajunas has lost a lot of fans after her last fight.
I mean, yeah, that last fight was not fun.
Yeah.
To put it lightly.
I even said to Josh, I was like, you asked the fans if they want to see Rose Namajunas fight again. The answer would be no.
I think Rose has such a cult following. You know, like, people love her, and rightfully so. I mean, she's got a great personality, likes to stay out of the spotlight.
She's fucking sweet.
She's awesome, you know, and one of the best fighters in the UFC, clearly. And you're allowed a loss. Like, that's the thing that I kind of hate, is that, like, she just didn't look ready for that fight, and neither of them really looked ready for that fight, and it just, I don't know. I don't want to say, like, things about Rose that I don't know about her. I don't know her. I'm not in the room with her. Obviously, she was training for 3 months going into it, but it's just like, you know, off day, happens in every sport. She'll be back and she'll retain the belt eventually.
I blame that loss on her coach,
on
Pat
Whitman
Barry.
or Pat Barry.
A little bit on Whitman, because I blame it mostly on Pat Barry, because Rose is doing nothing, the crowd's booing, and Pat Barry's just like, you hear that booing? It's because you're doing everything right, and you're putting on a great performance. And Whitman's just standing there. And I'm like, Trevor, you're her actual coach. Step in and say, okay, Pat, fuck off.
Trevor Whitman is, you know, the best coach in the UFC, I think, too. So, and that's another reason why you got to think Rose is going to bounce back eventually, and her next fight will be good. Is she getting an immediate rematch for the belt? No way. Makes sense.
Like, there was a bunch of controversy that stirred up because Sean Strickland, he opened up basically saying that fighters should not be dating their coaches, as Pat Barry's engaged with Rose. But here's the creepy thing about their relationship. So Pat was asked a couple years back about their relationship, and he said it was love at first sight. Guess what the first sight was?
What?
Pat Barry was 27 and she was 14.
Ooh. Yeah.
Doesn't that sound a little creepy?
Yeah, that does sound creepy for sure. But at the same time, I really do like Pat Barry and Rose in the ring together. Like, every time you go to the corner, and I know he was saying you're doing everything right, blah, blah, blah. And I think Rose, like, they did think she won that fight, that entire coaching staff. But, you know, I don't really mind the relationship thing with, you know, coaching a player. Like, I think that it's fine. And I don't know, they seem so cool together. Like, Pat Barry seems like the ultimate hype man, you know? And that's kind of, I think, his issue at times, is that, like, he's too much hype man, less about actual coaching.
It becomes a conflict of interest.
Right, it does become a conflict of interest. But if that's what works for Rose, I mean, Rose is one of the most successful women's fighters in UFC history.
Absolutely.
So if it works, it works.
Sean Strickland basically saying, like, oh, you were grooming her from a young age. He said the same thing about Jerry West and Aspen Ladd.
Okay.
But if you really think about that, think about what I just said. It was love at first sight.
No, that's a little sus. That's a little sus. But also, it's a play on words and a figure of speech, and you never actually know, you know.
I guess. But yeah, I think Weili's gonna knock out Joanna.
I mean, I think Weili definitely has more power, right? And Weili's a stronger woman. But you look at Joanna, and if she's healthy, you know, it took her 2.5 years. I mean, her face was deformed after that last Weili fight. She looked like an alien. But if she's healthy and she's ready to get back in there, how can you ever doubt Joanna? I mean, she's had such a storied career.
I basically saw her head afterwards, and two things came to mind. Megamind and Sheen from Jimmy Neutron.
Or just Jimmy Neutron with that big-ass dome he's got. But yeah, Sheen too.
Yeah.
I was called Jimmy Neutron the other day because I had my hair too far up my head. And so I was like, oh, man, I kind of had the Jimmy Neutron haircut going. But yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to doubt either of those. I do think Weili takes it too, just because she is as skilled as Joanna, in my opinion, and has a lot more power and has fought more times. But at the same time, it would not be surprising at all to see Joanna take this fight.
Absolutely. Well, that's UFC 275. Catch it, ESPN Plus, tonight.
Yeah.
Or whenever this gets posted, it'll probably have already happened, and we'll do post on Tuesday. So I got to ask you,
Yeah.
when you were at the Big Sticks, I remember when we were with the Big Sticks, you were telling me journalism, broadcasting. I was kind of surprised that you weren't the broadcast guy.
Yeah, so
Love you, Sam.
yeah, Sam. Shout out to Sam over at. Well, he's not at OK State anymore. He's graduated, but I think he's down in Kansas still, calling some games down there. Yeah, I have always kind of wanted to be in sports media. That was like my goal going into college, which was anything in sports media. And then as I got further into it, I really wanted to be, a play-by-play broadcaster. Just because, like, how could you not? You get to go to the games for free. You get to talk about them all the time. It's what every sports fan does. It's just you get to do it professionally. Yes. And so, like, that's what I wanted to do. But so I joined the radio club at Wisconsin in my freshman year, second semester freshman year. Had about 2 weeks of that, and then COVID. And then the radio club closed down for 3/4 of a year. And so I didn't really have an opportunity to, like, get through training and do all that stuff. And so I just wanted practice with a mic, more or less. And I wanted to get comfortable talking to people, and at those Big Sticks games, they pulled pretty good crowds, 800, 900 people. Yeah. And so I was the on-field host, just playing games with kids. I had some really bad moments on that field. Do you remember when I almost knocked a kid out?
Yeah, I do, actually. What was the one when the Superstars came and they stole the golf cart from you?
Oh yeah, they completely stole
chasing it.
Yeah, they stole the golf cart from me. That one was a little more planned as a comedic bit, but
I believe it.
But there's this one race with this little kid. So we had to find like 2 kids and 2 parents to do like a backpack race. Like the kids would ride on their backs and they would run around, And it was like from home plate to like the grass behind third base and back. And we couldn't find a second parent for the kid. And so they were just like, you do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And the mom came up to me right before and was like, well, I'm not going to win this if you're running forward. So you have to do it backwards. And I was like, are we sure? And I was like, and she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And so I put the kid on my back and did the race backwards, and I was winning. I mean, I think that's the most unsung part about this story, was that I was winning the race backwards against like a pretty in shape mother. And then like I was maybe like 3 steps away from like home plate again, finishing it, and I could just completely tripped, and the kid was on my back and hit his head on the ground, and you heard like an audible like ooh like in the crowd, and I was like, oh no, oh no.
Nice.
And that was like the worst moment. But yeah, like with the Big Sticks, it was more just to get practice on a mic. I did want to be a broadcaster, but I knew I didn't have the credentials because I hadn't called any games yet, which is interesting because there is a guy in the Huskies. There's 5 broadcasters for the Huskies. We go on a rotation, and there is a guy who never called any games. So it is interesting. I could have probably done more for it, but overall, the Big Sticks was good practice for me at the start. It turned into a job that just wasn't really what I signed up for, and so I ended up leaving early. But the Big Sticks, they got me my first start there out in North Dakota and got me going, practice on a mic, getting comfortable in front of crowds. And now I get to do podcasts with you. So this is pretty awesome. I
had some highs and I had a lot of lows that summer.
We all did.
My biggest low was the water park. For the viewers who have been following along with our series, in my internship last summer, I was the mascot at the Swim with the Big Sticks event in the water park, and the mascot gets in the water and swims with the kids, and it was a horrible, horrible time. Like, I almost drowned to death.
I don't know how that just speaks to the organization. I mean, and I don't want to just go killing an organization on the media, but like, how could you ever expect someone in like a super heavy like Teddy Roosevelt mascot costume to be swimming in water, like be able to keep their mask on, and like it's just like, what in the world are you doing?
Yeah, so I did a cannonball into the pool and the mascot head came off. And as soon as it came off, I was like, oh shit, I remember Barb told me like to hold on to the head. And as soon as it popped off, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm staying underwater because I don't want anybody to see that it's me. I'm trying to find the helmet. I'm running out of breath because like I don't want to come up. And then Mike Reddick came in and saved the day.
It was Reddick. That's who it was. I was like, who jumped in and like helped you out? Because it wasn't me. I remember that much. But yeah.
It was not a good time.
All right. I want to try whatever this is sitting over there on the corner of the desk right now. I've been hearing you've been using this a lot on the podcast lately.
The shock topic?
The shock topic.
Yeah. We usually start off the episode.
So what is this? Explain it to me.
So if it shocks you, the other person gives a topic, and you get to talk about it, You give like a 30-second intro, and if the conversation dies, it dies. But if it keeps going, it keeps going.
Okay, so you just get to pick any random topic?
Yeah. So since it's multiple, let's just put 2 in.
Oh, dang it. Wait. Give me 1 sec. Ooh, I'm scared. Missed both of us on the first time. There's 6 holes and only 4 fingers in here. Let's try it again.
Yeah, we're used to it.
We're used to it at this point.
Yeah, so I basically started saying one player has to double up.
Wow, the same one. There we go. Let's try it now. Now it's going to go to the other ones that we just rotated. Ow, fuck, it shocked me.
All right. Favorite memory from Badlands Big Sticks?
Ooh. Favorite memory from Badlands Big Sticks. There was a couple of good memories. I mean, overall, the summer was a good time. It was just like a couple of bad people ruined it for me. But I would say there was one night. So there's like this one host family over in North Dakota that would just host all the parties for the players and the interns. And I forget her name. Was it Miss Joan?
Yep.
Yeah, Miss Joan.
Shout out.
What a legend. Miss Joan over in Dickinson, North Dakota. Just an absolute legend. And I remember like it was like me. I don't remember if you were there exactly. You were there earlier in the night. I think you might have left early, but out up north in North Dakota, the sun rises at like 3:30 in the morning and stays until like 10:30, 11 at night. And I remember just like getting super drunk at the house, and like we only lived like 15 minutes away, walking, so it was like a 5-minute drive. And I remember just staying there till like 4 a.m. and leaving the house, and was like, oh my God, the sun is up right now. What in the world? Thinking I had to go to work all of a sudden. But those parties in general were just a really good time, getting to know the players, like getting close with everyone, and that was a really great time. Another great memory was going out to Teddy Roosevelt National Park and hanging out with you, going on the little like landslides down there, and then getting yelled at by our boss for doing it.
Yeah, I was kind of just like, what? I mean, it's not like it's sand; it's gonna fall. And there was another family. And
she was like, "You're ruining the park." I was like, "There's 20 other people right there doing the same exact thing."
Sign saying not to do that.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. What was it when we got really close to that bison?
That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was really
I wanted
cool.
to ride one.
That was really cool. All right, another topic. Let's do it. I like this game a lot.
Got me.
Nice. I got a good one if you want to go for it.
Go for it.
Will the Yankees ever stop losing games?
Will the Yankees ever stop losing?
Stop winning games, excuse me. Start losing games is what I meant to say. They have the best record in the MLB right now, and I just want to talk about them because they're amazing.
Well, I mean, it's impossible to go 162.
Well, it was a play on words, Justin. It was sarcasm. Thank you very much. But the Yankees right now, I'm a New York sports fan. They're one of my favorite teams, and Aaron Judge might win MVP this year. They got the best starting rotation in baseball. This is my shit right here.
Yeah, they're on top of the league right now. I see a downward slide? Maybe, but it can only be like 5 or 4 games. I don't see it being something ridiculous like 10 games. But no, they'll make the playoffs and they'll get to the finals. But let's see if they can actually.
Let's change it up. Give me your World Series picks right now.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I can give you mine.
Let me hear yours first.
Well, obviously in the AL, I'm going to go with the Yankees.
Okay.
And I think everyone's really high on the Mets right now in the NL, and I get that because they have a really good roster overall. They're spending a ton of money, but generally speaking, I think the Mets are cursed. I think they're going to find a way to miss the playoffs, and so it's going to be really funny. I hate to go the Dodgers as well, just because that's such a basic pick for a lot of people. So I'm going to go with the. It's not easy. I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Okay.
In the NL. They've been off to a really good start. They don't have a great roster up and down. You know, it's Albert Pujols' retirement tour this year, and they're playing him in every game, and he's pretty bad.
Pitching, too.
Yeah, pitching, and Yadier Molina's getting old, but they are the best fielding team in the league. They have a really good starting rotation, a great bullpen. I just went to Wrigley Field to watch the Cardinals and the Cubs play, and they're one of those teams that just find ways to win games right now, and for whatever reason, I'm high on them. Otherwise, it would be the Dodgers, but I just feel too basic saying it.
I'm going to throw a little curveball.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm not confident in it, but I would love to see it. Twins versus Padres.
Wow. Yeah, the Twins right now, like, not having a bad season. Did you catch that Twins-Yankees game the other night?
Did.
The comeback game?
I did.
Yeah, Twins are, 3 games in front of the Guardians right now? Yeah, they are 34-26 this year. They're off to a good start. They made some good moves, man. Carlos Correa is a beast, obviously, and the starting rotation's all right. I think that's probably the biggest hole in their team right now, and expect them to make some moves at the deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do one more.
Do one more? Dang, that hurts. Give me your not AFC, the AL East predictions in football this year.
You mean the AFC East?
AFC. It was AFC. I'm stupid. Yeah, you're right. I'm a little tired today.
Last place is Jets.
Last place is Jets.
Bills will finish on top,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's going to be a fight for the Dolphins and the Patriots for second.
Do you think the Dolphins really have the roster to compete with the Patriots right now? I mean, I know they got Tyreek Hill and a new coach, and you're wondering how Tua's going to look this year, but I'm not really that sold on the Dolphins.
Yeah, but the Dolphins are always a sleeper team, and they always put up a fight against the Patriots.
Yeah, true.
That's for that to say. NFC East prediction.
Sure. I'm reluctantly, because I said it earlier, and I kind of want to take it back, but also I kind of don't. I'm going with the Commanders on top this year. No NFC East team has won the division 2 years in a row, so I don't think
Eagles.
Right, since the Eagles, so I don't think it's going to be the Cowboys, just because I think that trend continues. I also don't think the Cowboys are legit. I think Dak Prescott's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. I really just am not sold on the Cowboys at all. I think Jalen Hurts is not really going to bring the Eagles anywhere.
No.
I think the Giants still need another 2 years, honestly, to really be competitive again, and probably a different quarterback than Daniel Jones. Although I do think Daniel Jones is underrated, and just kind of, I feel bad for him because I think the Giants ruined his career. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's his fault, but I don't think he's also carrying them anywhere. You know what I mean? And the Commanders, I think Carson Wentz is a more legitimate quarterback than people give him credit for. He has his flaws for sure, but I think he's good. They got a decent receiving core, a decent O-line, and a great defense. Yeah. So I'm going with the Commanders.
I was last fantasy, I was confident. I was reading a lot of reviews, and I drafted Miles Sanders, and he didn't do shit.
Nah.
They didn't hand him the ball ever.
No, he doesn't really do much this year, did he?
He's good, but they're not even using him. Yeah. Trade him away if you're not going to use him.
No, facts. Yeah, the NFC East is such a shit show. It really is. It's the worst division in football by far.
Yeah. All right, so I think that about wraps it up.
Sure.
Do you have anything else you want the fans at Bet Records to know?
Catch some Northwoods League games this year. Catch me on the call, northwoodsleague.com. Follow my Twitter, Max_Stapleton38.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Fucking thanks for making it out.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you, Bet Records fans, for sticking by. If you made it this far, be sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and keep up with our videos. We're on every Tuesday. Videos will drop by Wednesday. We'll see if we can get this one out here pretty soon. Thanks again, Max, for joining me.
Of course.
And peace out.
Jose, do trip. I like how she move it. I like how she move it. I got that new whip. Jose, the do trip. I like how she move it. I like how she move it.